pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Bell. Here. Trustee Brewer. Here. Trustee Grant. Trustee Jazinski. Trustee Todd.
Here.
Trustee Williams. Here.
I'll accept the motion to go into executive session. Discussion of personnel matters, update pending litigation, collective bargaining matters, review executive session board meetings, real estate, employment, and compensation as needed.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Grant, second by Trustee Bell. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Bell.
Yes.
Trustee Brewer.
Yes.
Trustee Grant.
Yes.
Trustee Jazinski.
Yes.
Trustee Todd.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Joe.
How you doing? In the car. You want to get some? It's hard out there. Huh? You rich? Oh, I will be.
You'll be back soon.
Oh, no.
No?
I had to.
You don't want to come back?
Huh?
You don't want to come back?
I'll be back tomorrow.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just sorry.
I know.
I'm good. Good to see you.
Oh,
Call your wisdom.
today?
Yesterday.
Oh,
Can you hear? Why?
you born.
Now he has one with me.
How you doing, man?
The carrier? With the mirror?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Good.
Good.
Yeah, that's what it is. In fact,
Mayor's just trying to job in the area.
Okay, we will reconvene. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Bell?
Here.
Trustee Brewer?
Here.
Trustee Grant?
Here.
Trustee Jazinski? Trustee Todd?
Here.
Trustee Williams?
Here.
Next item is the approval of the minutes. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes for the board meeting of March 26, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Moved by trustee Todd, second by trustee Brewer. Are there any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
No.
Trustee Jazinski?
Abstain.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Abstain.
And Trustee Bell?
Abstain.
We have a yes, 2, and 1 no, so the abstentions go with the majority. The motion is carried. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the committee meeting, April 16, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, we don't have it in our packet.
Okay, I just told you we don't have that. Item number C, motion to approve the journal proceedings for the board meeting of April 23rd, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Moved by trustee Todd, second by trustee Brewer. Any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Grant?
No.
Trustee Jazinski? Abstain. Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Abstain.
Trustee Bell?
Abstain.
And Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Again, the majority is yes, 2 to 1, so the abstentions go with the majority. Motion is carried. I would like to do the reports of officers before we get to public comment, because I think public comment might be a little different. So I'll ask the board to amend the agenda to bring item number 5 to number 4, number 4 to number 5.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Todd, second by trustee Bell. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Jazinski?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, we're gonna start off, before I get into anything, we might as well get this opening bid underway first. I understand that we have some bids here for the road resurfacing project. Okay, thank you. So this is going to be for the opening bid for the resurfacing project, and assist us as we return over to our expert. First bid is from Gallagher Asphalt. I'm reading this correctly, the final amount is $93,000 even, $93,000 even. That's the amount of the bid. They do have a bid bond.
Want me to check that, Mayor?
You only have the qualifications, I'm sure this one.
93 sounds pretty low.
Yes, we have.
You could open the next one and then I could.
Okay. I'll let you look at this one, and that's all we have on the thing.
Okay.
Next one is D, as in David Construction Company, Inc. We checked, we, 300, that's for Gallagher, $307,977.45.
Could you repeat that, Gallagher again?
Gallagher is $307,977.40. Okay, the amount for the deconstruction, the amount of the bid is $296,296, $617.30. 296,617.30. And it does have a bid bond. Doesn't have to check it as a bid bond. Next one is the Iroquois paving. Okay, the amount for the bid for Iroquois paving is $291,576.71. And they do have a bond, bid bond. The last one is K5 construction. Their bid is $296,748.25. They do have a bid line. You can tell they've done this before. They have this stuff. Okay. Turn that over to you and you'll let us.
Mr. Mayor, could you tell me, is 221st Street reserved program, what streets, from where to where?
I'll actually cover that.
And you're reporting? Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. My report, I do have a statement to make before I continue, and it reads as follows. It took me a while to compile this, but I feel it's necessary. And as I stated at the last board meeting when I ran for mayor, I did so because I believed that I could help lead this village forward with integrity and a team of professionals. Once again, at every turn, the negative forces of the status quo have sought to move us backward in just a short period. In fact, last week's resolution ordinances, violations of OMA, and the motion to place 2 members on paid administration leave is indicative of the negative forces to move us backward. Again, these individuals have done absolutely nothing wrong to harm this village. They report to me and do everything that I have instructed them to do. They do their job. In fact, the board has intentionally exposed the village to litigation and liability issues, something that the previous board didn't orchestrate. I will continue to remind everyone one of the trustees has filed a lawsuit against me and the village board. This includes all of us sitting on this board as stated. I will not try this case in public, but the truth will prevail on this issue. Your actions last week were unnecessary and unreasonable that resulted in impeding on government operations that cost this village additional losses. The village was at a standstill by having 2 key members on paid administrative leave. Once again, these actions are indicative to the negative forces because the ordinances and resolutions could cost the village thousands and thousands of dollars along with new liability claims. I urge everyone to allow litigation to run its course, and I will seek further to continue to fight for my rights as mayor of Sauk Village. I will not allow anyone to take away my rights and authority over daily operations of Sauk Village. Again, I will fight. That being said, on May 21st, the Board of Trustees passed a motion which proposed to raise the compensation of an elected officer, which is in degradation of the laws of Illinois. I therefore veto the motion passed purporting the issue to raise the compensation of the village clerk. And the motion that was stated before, the motion to conduct day-to-day operations of the village until said time as the village administrator is hired, the village board directs all department heads to report to the mayor, staff in this village hall shall report to finance director, Mr. Finch, and in Mr. Finch's absence, all village staff shall report to the village clerk. The village clerk will be compensated an additional $200 per week, not for her duties as village clerk, but for her assistance in handling day-to-day operation of the village until the village administrator is hired. Again, I would veto that action. The other action that I would veto, on May 21st, 2019, the board passed several motions. One of the 2 motions I am hereby exercising my veto power. The 2 motions which I am vetoing are stated below. The reason I'm vetoing these 2 motions is because the trustees did not state where these 2 had allegedly done wrong. First one was the motion to place Dr. Straughter, current human resource consultant, on paid leave pending an investigation into actions which may result in her termination. And the second was a motion to place Mr. Joseph Wizawadi, the current Director of Village Enforcement and Co-Development, on paid leave pending an investigation into actions which may result in this termination. I'm not going to go any further on that. I'm just stating that these individuals that were placed on administrative leave have put us, we have development, we have things that are going on day to day as far as employees and personnel that are put to a halt. That's why I asked for this, what happened last week, that why didn't we sit down and talk about it? But I call it rush to judgment. So with that being said, my next item, I just wanted to thank everybody that came out yesterday for the Memorial Day celebration. I'm sorry, Memorial Day, it wasn't a celebration, service. Memorial Day service that we do every year. It was more well attended than normal, and I appreciate everybody for coming out. I appreciate those that helped put that together, and I appreciate the MC that actually presided over that. Again, I don't know if the Boy Scouts are here, but I know some of the police officers were here, and I'd like to thank our fire department for coming out and participating in laying under the wreath and doing this. They deserve the time.
Mr. Mayor, before you finish, I just want to know, did you provide that in writing to us that you're going to had intent to veto? Did you provide that to all the trustees?
I have it now.
No, I'm asking you, did you provide it to us? Okay.
Much like how I got it.
Huh? I didn't hear that. What?
Much like I got my notice.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
And
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if you were through with your report or were taking questions on that particular
I'm not
action.
taking questions. It's a veto. I'm not taking any questions.
Can we comment on the veto?
You will at the appropriate time. But right now, I'm not taking
During my
any
report.
comments. Yes, you can do the report. That's why I asked for a consultation before all this happened, and that didn't happen. That being said, next item, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of things that I would like to talk with you and the trustees. Going forth, I would like for you first to take an ink pen pencil and write this number down. 708-921-3662. Going forth, if you must call me or text me, please utilize that phone number. That is a village-owned phone number. My own personal number has, as I was afraid of, been FOIA'd, even though it contains absolutely nothing that is incriminating at all. Know that, but I would just prefer that you continue, that you start using the village-owned telephone. I sent you an email over maybe Friday or over the weekend, and I received a response from one person regarding prevailing wages. Prevailing wages is a document that we generally would have to do through ordinance, through an attorney, and we received information for which I emailed to you from the Illinois Municipal League, stating that this year they're doing it completely different. than they have ever done, and that the state is taking over responsibility for drafting the ordinance, but then implementing. So therefore, even though I believe even you, Mr. Zernick, had to contribute in terms of the people who were working contracts and everything, we no longer have to do that. However, it still requires processing of an attorney. And I guess we just need to know and decide which attorney will handle the prevailing wages dictates at this time. So hopefully, maybe you can let me know that tomorrow. Okay? Okay. The next thing that's in your packet, you have an invitation by Odelson and Stirk to attend a function that they have for their clients. And if you've ever been before, you know that it's not something to be missed. Their pulled pork is fantastic. In your package also is information on workshop confirmations. Those of you who have expressed a desire to attend the one that's being presented by the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association, I believe that that one is on June 6th. You have been registered for that, as well as the one from IML, which is on the 8th. Know that you have been registered. We have asked for an invoice so that the village will be paying that expense. Okay? So you will not. In your packet also is a contact sheet, and a couple of you I've seen completing it. It's something that I've asked that trustees do each time we have a new set seated. And the reason I would like your contact sheet and for us to have it at the front office is in case something was to happen to you, heaven forbid. But if something was to happen to you, we need to know whom you would like for us to contact so that we can assist you in whatever emergency that you have. I promise you, I'm not going to call you at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night just to chit-chat, but it is for safety purposes. I want to talk to you also about your committee reimbursement report. It is due now, so if you have had a meeting within the last couple of weeks and have not submitted that paperwork to me, please do so. I would appreciate having it by the close of business on Friday. Finally, I'm going to talk to you about Code Red through the OnSoft company. I met with the Public Safety Committee earlier today, and we had a wonderful dialogue, and we had a couple of people who have decided that they will join us. Some of them very willingly is joining us as we look at process and policy and how we're going to roll it out and implement the Code Red. That's not going to take a whole long time, but I promise when we bring it to you, it will be something that you would not have a problem with really approving, and then we can move forward toward marketing and implementation. And I thank those who are in the room who agreed to participate with that. I have one more thing to report, and this one is on a very, very happy note because today is Trustee Todd's birthday. Can you join me in saying happy birthday to him?
Happy birthday, Linda.
Mr. Mayor, that completes my report.
Thank you. Village Engineer, Mr. Jim Zernick.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's bid opening is for the village's 2019 MFT CDBG road resurfacing project. This project will involve resurfacing of over 3,000 feet of roadway on 221st Street between Sauk Trail and Orion Avenue, including replacement of sidewalks, driveways, curb and gutter, and drainage structures and piping. We will review the bids and prepare a recommendation for award for the next board meeting. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Treasury report, Mr. Anthony Finch.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, Madam Clerk. In front of you guys have the cash report as of this evening. That's the amount of money that's available in the bank that's liquid to be spent without any restriction. It's not MFT or the tip. So the report that you have in front of you is actual cash that we have available to spend to pay accounts payable. And as far as that, that's the end of my treasury report, Mayor.
All right, we'll go to item number back to public comment. Please state your name when you come up. I'll answer all questions at the end. Each speaker is given one opportunity to speak. Is allowed to speak up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate, counter replies, or rebuttal. Please state your name.
I can clear some air. Is it on? I have no idea.
Judy Cast here. I came to clear up some error and apparent misunderstanding. When a resident gets up here and asks questions on a week-to-week basis for over 2 years and doesn't get an answer, that leaves that resident to wonder and ask why. Why can't we get answers? I have asked over and over and over about the capabilities of our HR person. I asked nicely. I asked for a resume to see what the background was. Where did she work before? What kind of experience has she got? To clear the air. But as of right now, I never got that either. So because I continue asking questions, and I keep saying she's milking us, because that's what I honestly believe. Anybody that gets paid the kind of money she does is milked personally. That's not personal. You made it personal when you refused to answer the questions. They weren't questions you had to give out any of her secrets. They were questions anybody would ask about a new hire. And yet we can't get answers. Therefore, the personal aspect is wrong. If you want me to get personal, I can do that. Secondly, Friday I went to the to get my vehicle sticker. At that time, I asked for 2 different accounts payable. I got one. I was told the girl that does that is at lunch. They took my name and my phone number and said they would call me when the other one's ready. I was here today for another meeting. Therefore, I stopped by the desk to ask about it, and it's not ready. They'll have to call me when it's ready. The inconvenience that this causes, not only the residents, but senior residents with disabilities, making extra trips here and the walk is not acceptable, and I don't understand why they can't be placed out there like they always were. And that's basically what I had to say. I have more, but I would run out of time.
Okay. Hello. I'm translating for my mom.
Okay, start with name.
Nancy Diaz.
You have to speak up.
Nancy Diaz.
Yo quiero decir
She wants to say that she is being harassed by.
Wait, let's do this. I got this. Because if you're both talking at the same time, nobody can really hear you. Okay. So my understanding is you're going to do translations along that line. This is, you would say a portion of your sentence, and then she would repeat it.
All right.
And then you say some more, and then she repeat.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let me start your time over, since I interrupted you.
She would like to say she's being harassed by Mr. Derrick and his wife Juana at her job. It bothers them that she speaks Spanish. It bothers them that she takes their order. They leave her papers with pictures and writing. And that's a police department. She does not understand what the problem is between Mr. Derrick and his wife against her. He has been saying that she is sleeping with 2 people, and my husband is right here. He will if he has seen her, he can go ahead and say it, because a lot of people have heard that. Your wife goes out with Joe, and she doesn't go and say that they sleep together. She just wants respect and asks for respect back.
Si algo me pasa a mí o a mi familia, porque yo soy diabética y asmática, responsabilizo al señor Derrick Burgess.
If anything happens to me, because I am diabetic and I am asthmatic, persons to blame would be Mr. Derrick Burgess. Anything that happens to me or my family.
Thank you.
That's all.
For real?
My name is Ronald Paul Carter III, and Mr. Mayor, I want to tell you that you're doing a fine job in this town. And if anyone doesn't understand what HR does, it's something wrong. HR saves money, HR handles the village's problems so that it doesn't wind up in more expense for the residents. There's a lot of things I want to say, but I'm going to just deal with that one incident right now. HR is important. But you don't know what it is. And you don't know how to function.
Hi, my name is Shannon Harris.
I'm sorry, I can hear.
My name is Shannon Harris, and I've been currently staying in the village for 1.5 years. I just currently moved into Wardrobe Remix 2430 East Sauk Trail, and I am having a hard time with going into business because I cannot get a sign-off on my business license. I already done put in $2,000 of work into that place, and I have a water bill that I'm splitting with Derrick at the pizza place. I just currently paid on that. I have a Homewood disposal bill that I'm paying as well, and a light bill, and I cannot go into business. Joe Wizzlewadi will not sign off on my business, but currently before me, the lady that was there, that was on Wardrobe Remix, her license had got signed by the village, and we had the same problem, which was the water meter. The water meter been like this for 30 years, and now I am currently I'm taking the blame for something that's supposed to have been done 30 years ago. He said that I cannot go into business without it being, without the water meter being put in, but I heard that Public Works could not find the Buffalo box. So why is that on me, and I'm paying money for a place that I cannot even open? And I tried to talk to the mayor. I called and talked to the assistant mayor, asking, can I get a meeting with the mayor? Because I cannot go forth, and all I kept getting was, we will call you back. We will call you back. We all need to get on one accord, which what Joe Wizzlewadi told me, that everybody had to get on one accord and come into a meeting so we can get an agreement. Every time I came, he fast-talked me and shut me off and did not help me. Sorry about that. Knock, knock. Ready? Here today we stand
at Sauk Village. We have new trustees. Renee Christie. That's the name I have to legally use now. Renee Christie.
You said Christie?
C-H-R-I-S-T-Y. That's the name I have to legally use now. But here today, we sit with a new board. And we have been going through total chaos for 2 years. I think everybody here, some people that haven't been here doesn't know that. But now the guard has changed. And now we have the mayor saying that he's willing to work with everybody. We have sat here and seen hell created right here in this rotunda. Everybody has did what they tried to do. Nobody has tried to be legally or morally against him, per se. We just wanted to know where the money was going, how it was used, and how the people are going to benefit from anything that's done in Sauk Village. That was never done. I'm not saying it is his fault for the 2 years that he did. It was 2 years before that, however you want to say it. But now he's saying something different. Transparency. Thank you. Transparency. We haven't seen that, Derrick. You have not been fair to the people here in Sauk Village. A lot of them don't know you. A lot of them don't want to know you, and a lot of them do. But you have not given Sauk Village the chance to know you. You have not did anything for the people that paid a house note, that paid a water bill. The truth, we're finding out now, and I'm telling you, it's a lot of people calling my phone saying, Miss Richardson, do you hear this? Yes, I do. I sat here for 2 years and listened. I don't know who you've been listening to. You don't want Joe removed and you didn't want Estrada removed. But give yourself a chance. You be fair with the people. That's all we asked. You be fair with the residents that pay the bills.
Nanette Wargo. The mayor may or may not have the power of veto. Oh, I'm sorry. The mayor may or may not have the power of veto in a statutory manager government. By contrast, in a village in which trustees are elected at large, the mayor may vote on all matters which may come before the council, but he or she does not have any veto power. 65 Illinois compiled statutes 5/5 3-6. And of course, I'm still concerned about TIF money being moved from a TIF. Governments have at least two options when deciding how to allocate surplus funds. First, the government can continue to build annual surpluses that grow over time. This option gives the government the potential to call or retire bonds before the scheduled maturity date, and of course, they're talking about TIF bonds. Overlapping units of government are then able to share in the incremental taxes after the TIF is dissolved. Second, it can disperse surplus funds to other government units. I think the problem I have is when you borrow $250,000 from a TIF for a non-TIF activity, I'm wondering why all of the taxing bodies that are part of the TIF board weren't notified so that we could get our share. Thank you.
My name's Al Betley. I'm an investor in Sauk Village and other suburbs. I've been fighting water bills ever since I started investing in Sauk Village. When you purchase a property, water bills that are 3 years old, and we're picking up the tab to investors. Something should be done if you want to get rid of properties that are in bad shape and been sitting for years. These liens aren't the investors. They're people that walked away from them. Okay? We had one house, there's a $3,000 water bill. Well, how many years does it take to get $3,000? It's not fair to an investor. If you want to get rid and improve things, you got to act on this. If water bills aren't paid in 4 months, you shut the water off. No matter who's responsible. Get some movement done, and a lot of these vacant properties will get sold. But we can't just pass the tab to somebody else. I've asked, I've gotten no answers about how to get this solved. It's a big problem. There's a lot of properties laying that could be moved, but there's $4,000 water bills. It doesn't happen. Or people walking away. I have renters, they'll walk away from a $700 water bill. They should be responsible. You can't chase them down. I think a lot can be done with this in a short amount of time, and would save the village money, and you'd probably bring a lot more business into the village. Okay, that's all.
Bernadine Hopkins, I'm sorry. I noticed, I think it's 9B, excuse me, 9B on the agenda. We're going to get a line of credit. I wanted to know, what was the line of credit for? How much is the line of credit going to be? And also, why is there a need for us to do that when we have, I believe, about 800,000 in reserve somewhere? And also, I kind of thought we weren't quite, we were not in the red at least. So I'm hoping you could shed some light on that. And also, I wanted to know, who's responsible for paving the lot where Fairway, Sharps, AutoZone, and Dollar General are located, because the potholes are treacherous. They're actually to a point where they're damaging vehicles. Not to mention, it's just a general hazard, period. So I'd like to know who's responsible for doing that, and why isn't someone being held accountable for that situation? So that's it. Thank you.
Pat Couch. I'd just like to thank Trustee Bell for the meeting he had today regarding the safety for our village. And so the people are aware of what you're going to be doing, and I hope you will be making more announcements on that. Since we missed the bullet yesterday with this tornado that came through, we do not have a safety plan in place, and if I'm wrong, correct me, for that type of incident. When you have residents that are on oxygen, you have residents with other health issues, things that need to be addressed. We do not have a safety contingency plan. Shame on us.
We have enough people here in these places that need to address those things that have not been addressed for over 2 years, and it needs to be addressed. This is prime time for tornadoes. We were lucky yesterday. Let's not take a chance. Let's get this up and running. Let's get some ESDA volunteers. Let them know what has to be done. These people need help. When you have a call and you go out and have nobody to direct traffic, what are you going to do? Run a car across the road to stop the traffic? This has been addressed other ways, but we need somebody to take the ball and run with it. Thank you, Trustee Bell.
Linda Kimbrough. First of all, I'd like to say that I have a vacant home on my street that's been vacant for 2 years now. Not once has anybody come by to cut the grass. So for the last 2 years, me and the other neighbors have taken turns, pitched in, including the man across the street who has cancer. We're cutting that grass because it hasn't been done yet. Number two, still gonna stand here and complain about the tree that is dead on election day 2 years ago that you said would have cut down. Well, now yesterday, that tree partially fell on my car. So now my car has more dents because you still haven't had that tree cut down. But that was one promise you made me on election day, Derrick, and you still haven't done it. And this is the last thing I gotta say, and you're not gonna like it. All I heard last week was you saying this was your town. You make the decisions. You have the authority to do everything. Guess what, Derrick? It's our town. It's not yours. We voted all these people in. We're gonna make it ours again. So in my town for almost 50 years, how long have you been here? A few? You ain't done nothing. Now it's our time to take over. So we're gonna make it good again.
It's your call, check on Road Street.
You ain't got no safety plan, y'all ain't done nothing.
Mary Escovedo, I'm here to talk about social media again and the harassment that you all give, your little clique gives to the people. Nancy's not the only person that you give a hard time to in restaurants. Every time you all go anywhere, you are always harassing the waitresses. It's so bad that your friends go behind your back and apologize for the way you act. Isn't that right, Grant and Tates? And again, social media, there's an ordinance, you're not doing anything. I hope that these new trustees listen and take account into what is going on in this town. Because, like I've told you, we put you in and we can put you out. And so for the new trustees, we're hoping that you are listening to the residents and will be doing something for us. Again, with the harassment, it needs to stop on social media and everything. Again, as I've said, I'm always being stalked. I don't know what the issue is that everybody's so interested in what I do, who I'm doing it with. Just like with Nancy. I don't think it's anybody's business who she's sleeping with. It has nothing to do with the village. What you need to do is see what you're doing. You need to take care of you and your spouse. That's what you need to be doing, instead of worrying about what everybody else is doing and who's sleeping with who, because that's really none of your business. I've heard people tell me they've been told not to talk to me. I've heard people tell me that they feel like daggers are being thrown at them when they're talking to me. That's really sad. That you people are so old and you play little grammar school games. Don't talk to her. Don't do this. And so therefore, I'm going to continue to come up here. Because also, I heard that someone in your little group is going around saying that the reason I quit was because I couldn't handle the job. That's a lie. And that person saying that was the same person you told me to help because she wasn't professional enough and she needed help.
to know what she should be doing. So, the reason I quit was because when I was back, you asked me to be the treasurer, which I thought was wrong because you complained about the other mayors hiring their friends, which is what you did. When I got to the back, I saw you were not doing what you were supposed to be doing, what you said you were going to do. Bunch of chaos back there. And I told you many times I wanted to quit. And you kept saying no. But I finally told you I was going to quit. You can shake your head, it doesn't matter. I know what was said. Thank you. I'll be back.
Okay, as far as the accounts payable not being available, the new accounts payable, which is voted on every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, is always available after it's been voted on, not before, because it may change. So that's the reason. Now, if a person came up and asked for last 2 weeks accounts payable that was voted on, I'll find out why that didn't happen, but that should not be a problem getting that. Personalization. I say here moments, many, many times. And I tried my best not to say a lot of stuff. But this is getting to the point that not just disrespectful, it's just downright hateful. You gonna let me finish? I'm an elected official. I elected to do this. I went and ran for this office knowing that I could be drugged over the mud, I could be talked about, I could be criticized, critiqued, every single thing in the book. And it has happened, but that's fine, because I signed up for this position. I knew, I've seen several mayors go through this, and not just here in Sauk Village, but period. But when a person reaches to dig into your family, to talk about your family in open meeting, to make comments, to make statements, that's a low, low person. Talk about me. Run me under the mud, because that's what I'm here, it's gonna happen, I know that. But if you got to reach to talk about my family and make up lies about things that were said, because first of all, I have no reason. Please call me again. Please call me again. To say something like that you have to stoop that low to bring a person's family into it, it's a shame. It just shows the character of the person that's doing it. As far as no, I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about. I'm not a report. It's comments on me. Yes, you can. But that, like I said again, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you.
Point of order.
As far as the TIF money being moved, I explained that. The gentleman about the water bills, I forgot what year it was voted that the water bills go into the owner's name. That was voted on a while back. We have no other way to collect water bills. When a person moves out, that's the one of the reasons why we, and the board at that time voted that the water bills be into the owner's name, and the owner would financially monitor that, because the person moves out and doesn't pay the water bill. What else do we don't have any other recourse. If we try to collect, we have water bills now that people actually live there. We try to do cutoffs as often as we possibly can, but the water bills not being cut off in time, that's something that's an internal problem. We have to try to work on that. But as far as a person moves out and their water was in their name, was in the owner's name, that's something that the owner has to make whole. I mean, there's nothing that we can, if we can't go after the person, we don't know where they are if they moved out. That's why the water bills are in the owner's name, whoever the investor is, or whoever the one that's the deed is in. That's why that water bill is in that person's name. I just talked today to the person that owns that plaza right there where Fairway is located. He gave me a schmeal. He told me that, you know, he's still working on it. I told him that, you know, does he continue to want to keep getting tickets? That's the only thing we can do. Can't shut them down. We can continue giving them tickets. Hopefully one day his pocket will get filled, but he's having a problem with a couple of his tenants, and that was the reason I told him that's not our problem as far as the village. You have a business, you have to take care, keep your business up. So today, basically, I got him saying that in 2 weeks, well, I'm gonna hold him to it, but in the meantime, like I told him, it's still gonna be cited because he's had many, many, many opportunities to fix that parking lot. Today I was sitting in the same meeting that this person was sitting in, and I did mention that we do have an EOP, it's an emergency operating plan that was done in 2017. At the time when we were having safety classes for the department heads. And that plan was given to the person of Ezra to help with the person that was doing the safety. And somehow or another it went back and forth, but it was completed and I do have it. I'm trying to get in contact with the person so it can be put on a flash drive to be loaded down because it's about 400 pages front and back. And so if you have it on your drive, and I'm gonna try to get that to all the department heads. And it does say how the village operates at a time of emergency. Vacant lots being cut. That program, we tried to start it and is trying to get it going. Right now it's at stall because financially the person that was doing that and got the money and implementing that. The people are out there now cutting, but as far as us filling the paperwork out, we have until June 11th to get that done. There's a lot of stuff to be done with that, so hopefully we can get that taken care of before that time so we can continue to get the money to fund the cutting. And then this year I'm looking to take down 5 homes that are repairable. And but I hate to take a home down because it takes it off the tax rolls. You can never get it back unless someone builds on it. So I'm hoping that the 5 that we're looking at are the ones that nobody's going to build on again. And then also I'm sorry that the person said that their grass was never cut. If that happens, if a person has a vacant home in their house and they see it hasn't been cut, right now a lot of them haven't been cut because we're trying to get that done. But if you see that it hasn't been cut within a few weeks, please come up and give us the address and we'll pass it along. The line of credit. The line of credit we talked about last week. And the line of credit is needed. All villages try to get supplemental money. The line of credit is better than what we had last year. It was a TALS account, which was connected to our taxes. So this year, we hope that we can get the line of credit, which means our credit is a little bit better. That we're able to go out and get a line of credit. Last year, it would cost us around $20,000. This year, it would be about $250. That's money that we need to bridge between now and October when we get our money from our taxes. That's something that's been going on since I've been here. We used to have a line of credit years ago. Those that remember, they said they've been here for a while. That was voted out each and every year. Then it got to the point where it wasn't, and then we started borrowing and taking out of different funds in order to meet payroll and expenses that occurred, and we don't get our allotment for taxes. So it's something that's needed, and it's something that if we can get it, it's greatly needed. We don't want to spend what you have and you have no way of putting it back. A line of credit is exactly what it is. You spend what you need, what you don't need stays right there where it's at. So, and that's something that's ongoing. You don't have to keep going back and forth. A line of credit lasts until you decide that you don't want to have it anymore. That being said, I'll go to reports of department heads. Start with the first report, Mr. Anthony Finch.
Thank you, Mayor, Board, Madam Clerk. Before I start my report, I want to address the residents, the board, and the mayor, as well as the clerk. It was brought to my attention a couple weeks ago that I used a profanity, and for that I do apologize, because I know better and I should have done better. However, I don't apologize for the content of my message. At that moment, I was upset, and I've said it numerous times, that I feel like, if not myself, at least the finance department and the front desk is constantly being attacked and asked questions. It's been brought that these are quote-unquote tough questions. Yesterday we honored fallen veterans in the military. I'm a veteran, and I feel like I can handle tough questions. The questions that have been asked of me are not tough questions. Most of the questions are really irrelevant to getting the job done. I left a package on the front for some of the residents to look at. Some of the residents just asked a few questions, comments to the mayor a few minutes ago. I'm gonna address some of those things. This is about my 90th day being in Sauk Village. I've seen things on Facebook. I've seen things in the newspaper, and I will say, most of them are lies. I try to sit up here and be very professional and not get caught up in this political game. After tonight, I will not continue to allow myself to be a pawn. I am Mayor, Board, Madam Clerk, is going to make a decision with respect to accounts payable. I will no longer answer any invoices in open session related to accounts payable. If you have a question about an invoice, you will have to ask that department head who signed off on it. Because if I give you 10 days to ask me about an invoice, I'm not gonna let you ask me at 7 o'clock to grandstand or do whatever you wanna call it when you had an opportune time to ask me about those invoices. Because if you could email me at 10:30 at night on a day I do not work here, and when you could email me at 8 o'clock in the morning, or you could leave me a message on my phone, surely in 10 days, you could ask me a question about accounts payable. So after tonight, I would not answer any of those questions.
All right.
And those that feel it's wrong, I'm sorry. I will not play this political game. It's a game of chess, and I'm choosing not to be the pawn anymore. Now, let me explain some of the things that I've heard and why I've gotten upset. My third day here, I was asked about shut off, 200 homes, 800 estimated readings. Not in one village that I know of, and please verify if you think I'm lying, does the finance director cut off water or water meter readings. We do collect money, but that question in the last 90 days have never been asked of the Public Works Director, nor has that question been rectified by the previous finance director, who was here, from what I'm told, 8 years. So in my third day here, how do you expect me to fix a problem? But like I said numerous times, I tackle problems head on, as was mentioned tonight. So I met with the person 3 times. The third meeting, yes, it got heated. This is one of the lies that was placed out there. In that conversation, it was told that I assaulted this person. I guarantee you tonight, Chief White does not have a police report that said I assaulted that individual. However, that person did put his finger in my face twice. And I let that person know I am not an interim finance director. I'm a man. You don't have to like me. You don't have to respect me. But what you would not, no matter who you are, from the janitor to the president, you would not ever disrespect me. So yes, did I get heated? Yes, I did. But not one trustee asked me to verify what really happened. The rumor just kept floating that I assaulted an individual. So then, because Mr. Finch made all these changes, people didn't like the changes I was making, we had another meeting. In that meeting, it was said, go back to the old way. Well, fine. I don't know everything, as I stated before. We went back to the old way. The gentleman just spoke about the water bill. Trustees, in your packet, I gave y'all a lot of information. Since I've been here, I found, as you guys already know, a resident who's been dead for 5 years, still getting the water bill. In your packet, you'll see a lady who's in a wheelchair, got a $3,200 water bill. You will see in your packet, in 2018, on the news, a gentleman had a $5,000 water bill mistake. So when you ask me about things, my question that I ask back to you is, what was the people doing before me, and why was the problem ever fixed? Because if you want me to fix it, and I go about my business to fix it, don't make me the problem anymore. Because like I said before, with two things I know at age 50, people don't like to change, and people don't like to be accountable. The other thing that set me on fire that night, Trustee Brewer asked a question, whether or not it's illegal for me to be an interim finance director and a treasurer. Good question, very good question. But the question I asked her, and to this day I haven't got an answer, why did the attorney ask about me doing something illegal? And what is it exactly that I'm doing illegal? If the attorney feels like I'm not doing my job, then he should tell the mayor and get me fired. I have no problem with that. If I'm not doing the job, let me go. If the attorney feels like that me being interim financial director is questionable, then put me in another task. But don't come in public session the first time you bring this to my attention, because I felt like that was a kind of embarrassment moment. But then that same attorney, for your tax dollars, didn't say nothing about the previous financial director signing for checks. Didn't say nothing about what the auditors wrote in the report. So again, all of a sudden, Mr. Finch has these questions. The question was asked about, do I have a surety bond? Very good question. And yes, I have a surety bond. And no, I'm not giving it to the trustees, because when I was trying to be transparent, they put my business on Facebook.
Say it again.
It was no big deal, so no. If you want to see it, I will show it to you, but I'm not giving you a copy. But the question that I asked, that same attorney, because let me explain what a surety bond is. A surety bond says, in the event that I steal, somebody will pay the village back the money that I stole. As you guys know, your former treasurer stole. So if the attorney was so concerned about somebody stealing, why didn't he act upon it the moment the previous treasurer went to jail? Because if my house get broken into on Monday, you best believe Tuesday I got an alarm on my house. But once again, Mr. Finch, he's doing something wrong. But I can guarantee you, not one treasurer, not a clerk, not the mayor, can tell me that the former treasurers, any of them, had a surety bond, nor the two people that signed checks to this day have a surety bond. But yet, I potentially can steal something. That's what I want to mention. Now, brought to my attention, go find how many fire hydrants in Sauk Village. Again, no finance director does that. You pay a director and you pay Robinson Engineer for that. But I got the answer, and thank you, Robinson Engineer, for giving me that answer. But the question that I had, per the last administration, as you can see in back of me, those are the fire hydrants that's been broken years before I got here. Those same trustees that asked me that question, why didn't you budget to get into those fire hydrants fixed?
Amen.
And to this day, why are they not getting fixed? But more importantly, why is that question never asked of the people that can fix the fire hydrant, not the finance director? Because my job is to collect money. But I asked that question, and still I get no answer. People ask, they said last week, they supposed to know what the money's doing, where it's coming in, where it's going out. Let me ask you guys this. Who worked yesterday on a holiday? Because let me tell you something. If you work 2 hours in Sauk Village yesterday, you know what you get paid for? Any answer? 12. And guess what? Because I read, it's not in the contract. So you want to know where your money's going? It's going into unnecessary overtime. I applaud Chief White for getting in and doing what he's doing. And the reason I applaud him, from May to November, police department spent over $300,000 in overtime. And before somebody say, well, that's because the mayor won't hire nobody. Well, no, that's not really the truth. That's a little bit. But the real truth is, if you work 9 to 5, how many of you guys can punch in at 8:30, punch out at 5:30, and your boss pay you 2.5 hours extra overtime? That's what really goes on. So these questions that you're asking me don't really have nothing to do with the finance of the village. There's a lot of internal function that's broken. But people won't admit that maybe all good intentions, that the people here and before me might be good individuals, but maybe they're not as competent as led on to believe. I was called on Facebook incompetent. Well, maybe I am, but I can tell you something. I know my job, and I know without a shadow of a doubt. The other thing I want to talk about, the lady just spoke of, why we need a line of credit. Well, last year you gotta form a line of a TAR, tax anticipated warrant. Like the mayor said, it cost you $20,000. You need it to operate the village. But this particular season, you're gonna need it because, as you guys heard last week, you're about to spend $110,000, $115,000 for a village administrator. Don't believe me? Call Glenwood, ask them what they pay their village administrator. The current attorneys, just for their current function, they charge us $190,000 a year. So you get a village attorney, minimum $150,000. You fix these fire hydrants, that's $160,000 just to buy the equipment. That's not including overtime or anything that goes along with that. So the reserve, half of it will be gone after day one of the new budget. In your packet, trustees, residents, you hear every week, Mr. Finch said, this village $2 million in the hole. Yep, I did. Yep, the village is $2 million in the hole. But let me explain something to you. As I said numerous times, giving you this piece of paper is just information. If you don't understand the knowledge of this information, it's just numbers. But let me explain to you how it works. Again, I run business in Sauk Village like it was my personal household. If you look on your sheet, trustees, basically I'm going to explain to you briefly how general fund works. The state sends you X amount of dollars. It really does not fluctuate. As you all know, the villages, municipalities do not create anything. So the the state and county send you $1,000, let's say, and then you have miscellaneous bills like health insurance, not health insurance, fax machines, copiers, supplies, whatnot. And let's say for all intents and purposes, that's $800. Then you have, in your case, your house, your mortgage. That's roughly $1,200. So at the end, you break even. Most of us can say we know people that live paycheck to paycheck. So the village is breaking even. But then most of us go out and we work overtime. That's your extra money. The way the village get extra money, they provide a service, i.e. like you do when you work overtime. That service, in this case, is called your water. So when the money comes in, that's the additional money that's not coming from the state or from the county. But what happens as in your personal household, when you marry, you get a child, and you say, I want to move from an apartment to a house, to a bigger house. You get a little raise, inflation goes up. But what you didn't realize when you got that house, there's a thing called taxes. So when that comes in, you got to dip into the money that you had from your overtime. So bring that back to the village. When the water bill, when the general fund money comes in, and you pay your regular bills, when you go out and hire more policemen, more firemen, your insurance goes up because you got claims, that money got to still be paid. It's a permanent payment. As the mayor said earlier, you have to pay payroll. So you got to pay payroll, and you only got X amount of dollars from the county, from the state. Where do you get it from? You get it from your water fund. I'm going to say this, and I know half the people probably disagree with it. It is not illegal to use money out of a water fund. What is illegal with respect to the water fund is if you have a bond attached to that water fund and you do not pay that bond first and then use that money, that's illegal. That's how that works. More detail if you just learn government fund accounting. The other thing that was in the newspaper was the village is $19 million in the hole. Trustee Brewer is right. How many of you guys got a mortgage? If you got a mortgage, guess what? You're in a deficit. If you make $100,000 and your mortgage is $200,000, I can't say you got 2 years of salary to pay off your mortgage. That's not realistic. What happened is your mortgage is spread out over generally 30 years, which is the same thing with the debt that the village has. So to say the village is in debt is a true statement, but it's not a clarifying statement as to why. So that's what bothers me. You are getting, the residents are getting half-truth, shady conversation, shady questions, but no one is fulfilling the whole picture. The $250,000 that the mayor mentioned last week, people are upset because they're just not finding out about it. Maybe the conversation that happened last week and now is a reason he didn't put it in public conversation. It's something that should be handled in executive session. But to ask yourself, do you pay $250 or do you pay $4 million? Because if you default, as the mayor said earlier, you don't have a bond rating. Default on a bond, you really won't get anything. You've been junk status. And then you be upset that your rates and everything is higher. So, $250 or $4 million. But then my question is, because everybody above board, why did not the finance director provide that information to the trustees? Trustee Brewer mentioned last week, secretly, she found out about the water bill, $2 million in the hole. So surely, if he secretly give her information, he would secretly have told her what transpired. That's what I'm talking about. The truth is not being said. And let me tell you something else. The fact that you guys ask for transparency, you should. But you are not going to get 100% transparency from no board. Don't think you voted in, and it's no disrespect to none of the trustees. There's private information that you should not know. There's employee information that you should not know. I'll give you two perfect examples right now. Did you know that when the mayor tried to hire part-time workers, a complaint was filed against him by a department head? Did you know that a department, no, I'm sorry, not department head, department. Did you know that when another department of Sauk Village tried to assist another department to get work done, that department filed a complaint? Every time there's a complaint, guess who get paid? Your attorneys. That information don't get leaked to the public. That's why I get upset, because when I try to be transparent, I sent it to 7 people. Now, if I listen to what you guys say as residents, and it's true that the mayor got a bunch of bobbleheads follow him, I can process elimination, get that down to 2 people. But nobody leaked to the resident when a lady who got $12 water bill got cut off, but a person who had a $1,200 water bill got left on. So when I look at the water bills, the consistent pattern that I see, the investors are the ones that got the high water bills. So when I put policies and procedures in place, it seemed like all heck break loose. Mr. Finch doing something wrong. Okay, the question I want to know, if anybody can answer, prior to me, why wasn't these problems fixed? If you are saying the previous finance director was a superstar, and maybe he was, what policy and procedure can I follow from him to continue what he did? What policy and procedure can the front desk staff take? Now, speaking of front desk staff, we went back to the quote-unquote old way. You guys heard all the complaints about the front desk staff. Mayor would call me every day. You guys, they said they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Well, the week of Easter, the young lady came in the front desk on a Friday. She was upset because her water, she couldn't move to her house and get ready for Easter dinner because she couldn't get an occupancy of compliance. I asked the guys, my team, what's going on? They said, well, we put it in the books, we made the appointment. Well, did the water get cut off? They said yes. I read the form. The form says shut off. The form was signed by the public work worker. So if he signed it and he said he sucked the water off, why did he do it? You know what I was told? He didn't understand the form. So now, the front desk staff, who's get ridiculed every day, who's fairly new, supposed to know the process, but yet the staff that been here for years can't read a form. That's the old way. These are the games that I'm no longer gonna play. Either let me do my job, or I'm not gonna do the job. Because I'm here not to make friends. I'm here because Mayor Burgess checked my references with other people, checked my resume, and know that I'm able to do a job. But these games we play, it's not necessary. So all I have to say is, you gotta start asking legitimate questions and get answers that you can understand. I've said numerous times, the information was given to the trustees was incomplete. It's one thing to ask me about water, but then if you don't tell me what you're looking at, it doesn't make sense. It was put in the paper that a treasury report haven't been provided to the trustees since last May, something like that. That's not true. It's in your packet, you see the minutes. I gave a treasury report in November, and I clearly said then, I am not taking information out of a system and doctor it up and provide it to you. But what was said in the paper, we ain't got one in over a year. Now let's think about this. If you have a bank account and the bank sent you a bank statement, why would you give it to somebody else and say put it in a new format so they can manipulate the number? Especially when you keep asking me these questions implying that I might be doing something illegal. So then when I say I'm not gonna take the bank statement that comes from a third-party source and format it to the old way, you get upset. Doesn't make sense, people. So all I'm saying, Mayor, Board, the residents, if we're here to do the business of Sauk Village, let's do the business of Sauk Village. Let's leave the personal tax, let's leave the political tax, which I know this is a political thing, let's leave the racial tax done, and ask questions that's gonna move the village forward. One of the concerns that I have, as Mayor said about Joe and Dr. Strada, people say Joe doesn't have a high school education. Okay. Dr. Strada, how can she help with the finance department? What's her qualification? Well, I'm gonna make an assumption. If you got a PhD, that leads me to believe at least you can think and process information. Like I said earlier, I have a master's, but I was told I'm incompetent. So you gotta ask yourself, what level of education do you really want? Because Facebook, he ain't finished college, and I'm pretty sure he's richer than anybody in this room. But the question should be asked, are they doing the tasks that the mayor assigned them to? And if you say no, that's a different question. But if related to their degrees, what does that have to do with can they do the job? I know a lot of people that don't have degrees, but they function.
Can we talk about that?
So I'm gonna conclude with that. But like I said, I'm making a decision that I know it's not gonna be light, that's not gonna be comfortable, but it is what it is, because I'm not playing these political games anymore. And with that, Mayor, Board, again, residents, I apologize for using profanity, but I got upset. But when you accuse me of doing something illegal from an attorney who has been with the village for years, but not one time said any questionable things about stuff that has happened in the packet about illegal activity, like taking money out of ATM, I wonder. That's through my report, and thank you.
Fire Department, Captain Dennis Sunaway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fire Department responded to 20 calls for service during the period May 9th through May 23rd. There were no serious calls. Doug and Kevin Luther completed their Fire Officer 1 training. We are waiting results of tests for certification. At this time, I would ask that Doug Luther come forward. Doug has completed the necessary courses and is hereby awarded his Fire Officer 1 certificate by the State Fire Marshal. It reads, the State Fire Marshal hereby certifies Douglas A. Luther as Fire Officer 1 for having successfully demonstrated the ability to meet the standards and requirements of the Office of the State Fire Marshal, Division of Personal Standards and Education, and the National Fire Protection Association Standard 1021. Congratulations. Congratulations, Doug. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I know.
Next report, Police Department Chief Malcolm White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the period of May 15, 2019 to tonight, Police Department received 435 calls for service. During that same time period, we've had a total of 17 arrests. That concludes my report to the board tonight.
Thank you. Public Works Director Kevin Weller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff will be out finalizing the branch pickup. Last section of town to be completed is our north side of town. This section is right now is from Jeffrey to Peterson. As of today, we do not have but one or two locations on the east side of town that took some storm damage to the tops of the trees, but the rest of the town fared very well. I don't know if anybody has called this morning or left any notations of trees down in the backyards. But as of right now, we will not be posting any storm damage on the marquee, but if we do find out there are some notices, we will post the dates on the marquee. Staff are having a hard time cutting them, but as we can get to them, as the weather dries out, or as we can get into them without doing more damage, we will try to cut them. Staff has also been out pothole patching. They started off in Deer Creek, and they continued with the sweeper in front of them, and they patched all the holes. They started into the north side off of Jeffrey Ave into 19th and continued with the sweeper. Due to the flooded streets, it took all the debris that was on the streets, partially from the trees right now, from the fires, and it dispersed it all into the holes in the roadway. So we have to have the sweeper out in front of it. This will pick up a lot of the debris. Also will patch the holes, so we will not have the loose gravel from the cold patch from the season. Staff is also out as the weather starts to hopefully dries out here. We'll be out finishing locations for all the landscape, all the dig locations we've done in the past few years. And as we get further into our budget cycle, we will continue to do our concrete and asphalt work. And this will be more permanent work, permanent asphalt completion of driveways and some street repairs from old digs. As I said, the street sweeper will be out in front of the pothole crew. Due to the heavy rain, the garbage and debris is still all over. We're still asking residents to please clean up around their properties, and most importantly, do not cut your grass into the roadway or throw the leaves or debris in your roadway. Please rake those up and put them in your garbage to be picked up by the scavenger. Also, during the windstorm, we did get a light pole that was blown down, 3021 to 23rd place. This is a wooden pole. Sauk Village has a lot of wooden poles in town that somehow we became owners of years ago. These poles are past their lifespan, past 40 years. So as we have them come down, we're putting new poles up. Currently, we have 3 to put up. Our truck is back, so these jobs will start to be completed. Staff will be out also after the chipping program is completed. We figure a couple days for chipping, but next week we'll start to do tree removals. There will be a crew with our part-time seasonal help that will go out daily as weather conditions are okay to remove trees and do the stumps at the same time. And unfortunately, all the jobs in front of that are going to get put on hold temporarily for 2 weeks we have in town. One is a fire hydrant located 1829 Sauk Trail. This is a repair to a damaged part in the hydrant that fails over time. The part is free. The hydrant parts to repair it are not, so we have to pay for that. And we have a B-box at 2054 218th Street. This is on the north side of town. These are saddles that are on the actual transite water main that rot away. And when we dig one, the one next to it will have to be repaired also. And that completes my report.
Question. I have a question. Mr. Weller, so a second ago when Mr. Finch gave his report, he stated that he's not sure why we don't budget for fire hydrant repair. And technically, like, I don't think that's true that we don't budget for it. It's not called specifically for fire hydrant repair, but it's like, you know, repair and maintenance. So have we fixed any this year?
Normally the money that would go into any kind of repairs for hydrants, unless we put it in a capital line, would go into the construction line item. This also would include any repairs we do from water main breaks to B-box repairs. This is all the above. So hydrants are included in that. As of the beginning of this year, we have not replaced any hydrants. Our goal was a couple weeks ago, we had established 4 hydrants, 4 valves, a section of main to be repaired over on Prairie in that section. Due to the weather conditions and all the starting of the spring here, we have not started that project yet.
So should this year, so should we actually put money in there specifically for fire hydrants? And like, will that help out?
If the money's there, we would always love to have more money for specific items that we can buy and have on hand to put in, yes.
So I remember like maybe a month ago, you gave us like a list and it said like all the ones that needed repair. I can't remember the amount. I think it was like maybe $80,000, I believe, $80,000 to fix it all. Is that number still like?
No, it was 80 hydrants. I believe finance came up with $163,000 to buy the hydrants.
Okay.
And that would be just to purchase the hydrants themselves. So it was 63 roughly hydrants to replace. The other ones were repairable. The top operating nuts have to be replaced on them.
So you said $165,000 pretty much to fix all the fire hydrants?
Just to purchase the hydrant.
Just to purchase, okay. Thank you.
And yes, we would take any money that was offered, and then grants in the past, we purchased hydrants under the grants.
So $165,000 to purchase fire hydrants, but some can be repaired. So what's the cost to repair? Don't know yet. You won't know until you investigate.
Each hydrant has a specific item. The older the hydrant, the parts are not available. So as they get older, from the 50s and the 60s, we cannot get parts. So they have to be fully replaced.
Okay.
And then that also includes the main valve on the hydrant. So it's all brand new. Yes, we have a little bit, yes.
Okay. Any other? Thank you. That concludes your report. Economic development, only thing I can tell you is the gas and wash that you see is on 394 is underway. You can see they're opening it up. They just got a letter the other day from IDOT to take those trees down that's right there on the direct corner of 394 and Sauk Trail. So as you notice, they knocked those down so they can open that up. I'm told that it should be opening sometime in June. I don't have an exact date. As soon as I get one, I will notify everyone about that. Reports from trustees, standing committees, and comments. Trustee Gary Bell.
We had our first meeting today for the Public Safety Committee, and you know, all in all, for the people that were there, it was a good time.
Is your mic on?
You know, we had a good turnout. 9 people showed up at the table. Couple, the mayor and Maggie was in the audience. We took questions, and, you know, we got to introduce each other, and we set up a couple projects. So more to follow at the next committee meeting, and that concludes my report.
Okay, before I go any further, I want to give this to the Ordinance Review Committee. This is the ordinance that you asked for the administration, ordinance for the standing committees, so they can look at that and go on the review with that. Public Service Committee, Trustee Bernice Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to reference what you talked. Oh, he got when Mr. Finch left. As you know, we have, at least I've been trustee for the last 2 years. And during the last 2 years, we haven't been able to get any information. And as Mr. Finch says, the information that has been provided was either incomplete or it was not right. So when you have something, when they give you that's not right or incomplete, you ask more questions. Maybe we didn't ask the right people or whoever, but those questions need to be asked. And since Mr. Finch has been here, we found out a lot of things. We're in the hole for money, and we don't know how we got there. We don't get any reports like we haven't been doing, and Mr. Finch gave us a whole packet full of stuff today. We just want to know where the money is. That's what we were elected for. So I understand Mr. Finch's frustration, but he also understands our frustration too. We have not been getting the right information, and therefore we can only say, you know, go by what we were saying. So that's the end of my report.
Okay,
That's not a report. Well, yeah, comment.
Budget and Finance Committee, Trustee Roger Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two comments. Well, about my committee, I did not have a meeting in the month of May. The next meeting I want to have is when I present the committee with the budget, which I'm still working with the finance director to kind of put together. So hopefully that will happen in June. That should be my next meeting. I do know as tentative, we plan on June 15th to have the meeting with the department heads to go over their budgets. So that will be a Saturday in which the trustees and the department heads will get together and discuss their line items. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Chair Jazinski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really don't have a report, but once you give me my committee, I'm going to be looking for volunteers to sit on that with me. So if you're interested, once I find out, please let me know. Thanks.
I'll be here tomorrow, so I don't know what time you get off or whatever, but I can give that to you. I thought I got a copy, as a matter of fact, if you have a few seconds after we get through, I have a copy.
Thank you.
Orders Review Committee, Trustee Linda Ty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now that you've given me this, then I can schedule a committee meeting. I have to get together with my committee members, and next week I will announce when we're having our committee meeting. And that ends my report. But I do have a comment. Mr. McGrath, could you explain the veto process to the new trustees and to the residents and how it works?
The mayor of a municipality such as yours has the right to veto any ordinance, resolution, or motion that places a financial burden or cost anything to the village. It's very broad. Basically, veto just about anything. It has to be done at the next regular village board meeting, which is tonight, and the mayor's indicated what he's going to veto. And then the board can override those vetoes by a 2/3 vote at the following regular village board meeting. So it takes a period of 3 village board meetings to carry out the whole veto and override process.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please place the trustees' override of the mayor's veto on the next regular board meeting agenda, which would be June 11th?
Trustee Debbie Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, the board report. The Public Events Committee met Thursday, May 23rd for a brainstorming session. Many great ideas were brought to the table. I challenge every resident to contact me in regards to an activity or event that you would like to spearhead. There will be more information regarding my village committee after the board meets next week. Events that are already in the planning stages: electronic paper and prescription drug recycling, Labor Day parade and activities, mortgage and financial planning workshops, village garage sale, community cleanup, resource and job fair, barbecue cook-off for the village churches, and more kid-friendly ideas. Bring your thoughts and ideas to the next meeting scheduled for Thursday, June 13th at 4 p.m. We are particularly in need of a fundraising committee because this committee comes with no funds. So in order to get things done, we have to have a fundraising committee. So anybody who's interested in joining this committee or being part of bringing some positive events to Sauk Village, please feel free to reach out to me. Now, that was my report, my comments. A lot has been said and done again tonight. I agree with lots of it, and I disagree with lots of it. So let me just say, first of all, that we have been told by more than one business and by more than one resident and by more than one staff member that we have a serious situation in the village hall and in the village period. People are being threatened, people are being abused, people are being misused, and it's caused a lot of hardship. We had some people at the podium today, and I mean, you can listen to them, and you can believe them, or you cannot. I can't tell you what to believe. But many people have approached the podium and talked about the situation. We are working and living in a hostile environment. Putting race out there and putting personal attacks out there and getting on social media and getting everybody all revved up is not going to solve the problem. But in talking to people who come to us as a board with issues that they would like us to address, we address it the way we feel we need to address it. Everybody might not agree with it, but we address it. And the actions that we took to address some concerns. It may turn out one way, or it may turn out the other. But one thing I can only guarantee you is there will be due process. Legally, it will be done legally. We are not doing anything behind closed doors. What we know, you know. When the outcome comes, it comes because we have done due process. A lot of people have already made up their minds, and that's not fair. So what I would like to say to that is the harassment and lack of transparency did not start with this administration. A lot of the issues that we have did not start with this administration, but what we should have learned from the last two administrations is how not to repeat the cycle. Somebody needs to break the cycle. We have to stop fighting and start working together. And until we do that, this village will never move forward, regardless to what anybody says. As far as the lady with the water that's trying to move into her business, if there's a precedent that somebody just moved out of there and had water, I don't see what the problem is, because that other person was in there for quite a long time. If there's an issue with that water situation and somebody's already been in there in a business, let her open her business and handle the problem later, because otherwise we're not being fair to her. As far as the investors who are being stuck with the high water bills, I know that's been a problem that did not just start. It's been going on for years. And one thing I'm glad to hear is that we're finally talking about getting monthly water bills generated to not only the tenants, but to the landlords, so that they can see monthly billing. If you see your tenant is falling behind, then you can't come to the village and say there's a $3,000 water bill, because you're not going to litigate that far yourself. We have issues with the water billing and the way that we're doing our water billing, and I would be the first one to agree with you. But we are going to have to attack that. As far as the emergency plan, we did have an emergency meeting today, and it was very informative. A lot of stuff was brought to the table, but not one person could walk up and say, here's our emergency plan. The mayor says he has it now, which is great, but when I texted him at 2:30 yesterday, when this all started happening, and I asked him what the protocol was, I was expecting some type of response, like, it's in place, it's available here. I wanted to know if we had the tornado that was expected and your lights went out or your electricity went out and your mother or your brother or your sister has oxygen, how was this going to be taken care of? Because not everybody has the mayor's cell phone number. A lot of people have my cell phone number. It's been out there for years. So when they lose their power or when they have a problem, who do you contact? The village hall's closed on Memorial Day. I asked what the protocol was. I didn't get an answer, and we're working on that. That's one of the things that we're working on. So the plan that the mayor has, what I understand from the meeting today, and I could be wrong, because nobody really knew the answer, was this plan actually brought before a board in 2017 and approved as the emergency plan? If that has not been done, I believe that's what Trustee Bell is working on getting done. Finally, going into a few more things that were brought up, when you go talking about social media, and residents have talked about it, Mr. Finch has talked about it, and even he admitted, what you read in the papers and what you see on social media is not necessarily true, and most of it is not true, because those formats are meant to incite. And that's basically what they do. And many people here have said that their families and themselves have been pretty much put through the mud on social media. I'm a product of being put through the mud on social media, and personally, I don't care. For 8 years, I was ran through the mud on social media, and guess what? After 2 years, like the mayor said, I elected to come back. So apparently, social media and newspapers don't bother me, because what bothers me is when I see things aren't getting done right. And if I feel that I can contribute in some kind of way, I'm going to do what I have to. And we're not always going to agree. And I know that there's things that need to be done. But if you're going to believe what happens on social media and what you read from the newspaper that all of a sudden start getting available in the hallway of the village hall, if that's what you're going to guide your basis of your village on, then I think we got a problem. But if you're going to come to the board meetings, because all of a sudden we got more people in the audience, and I'm loving it. Because one thing I have always said is there is a lack of transparency. And if this board is going to be held to a higher standard than the last 2 years, bring it on. Because if there's one thing I believe in, it is open government and open transparency. Because it's out there that this board has already cost the village $250,000. Has anybody FOIA'd the $250,000 that we spent? Has anybody asked for the invoices? Because personally, I can tell you, I have not signed off on anything for $250,000. Matter of fact, this is my first accounts payable that we're getting ready to vote on. And I have nothing to do with anything on that accounts payable. So if I spent $250,000, would somebody please tell me where it is? Because open and transparent government is when confidentially, you move $250,000 and you talk about it in executive session, but you don't talk about it in open session. And then you mark confidential all over a bank statement. I'm sorry, since when did your money and your bank statement become confidential? I mean, I don't know the whole ramification why this had to be done in executive session and why residents have been asking for this information for months at that podium, and everybody acts like they don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, it's been disclosed. And I thank the mayor and the finance director for finally disclosing it. But are you happy with the disclosure? That's all I want to know. Yeah, we've got a bank statement here. It was taken from one fund on November 20th, and it was transferred to it back into that fund on November 22nd. Simple question, simple answer. Why did we have to wait 2 years to get an answer? That's not transparent. I think I'm going to, I have other notes, but I know we all want to get home out of this storm. But all I want to say is thank you very much, residents, for holding us to a higher standard, because I guarantee you what I know, you'll know.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. The next meeting for the Senior Advisory Council is Thursday, June 13, 2019. All are welcome. Game night is every first and third Friday in the Senior Center. Please come out with this coming Friday. And invite your seniors out for bid whist and other games. Also, we're having our first casino trip of the year. It had to be rescheduled. It was rescheduled to June 5th. 2019, please contact Carol Coleman, the Senior Advisory Council Treasurer, to make your deposit and get more info. Also, the last thing is Gen Care will be hosting a health fair June 18th, 2019. And we do have flyers in the back of the room and the back table. They're gonna have blood pressure, and blood sugar screenings. Plus they're gonna be having giveaways. And that's it. Thank you. That concludes my report. Thank you. Okay. All right, before we vote on the accounts payable, I just want to say I urge you to consider how you vote. As a board, we cannot withhold anyone's wages according to state and federal laws. An employee is not allowed to withhold or fail to pay salary or wages an individual has earned. Again, the employee cannot withhold any part of the paycheck for any reason if they earned the wages, and they are entitled to receive all of them. We will not win by withholding wages. This will put the village in immediate liability, and litigation. As the mayor of Sauk Village and on previous boards, we did not practice unethical behavior withholding individual wages for personal reasons. That is why I have the HR consultant that you place on paid administrative leave to keep the village in compliance with state and federal laws concerning employment practices to keep us out of litigation on employment violations. She knows how to keep the employment issues under control that we as a board don't know, can't recognize the potential issues, or remotely understand the level of HR required for the village.
She's not understanding. This is her first. Give me a minute.
I didn't say anything.
I know you will. Just like
I was through.
Just
I was through. All right, number 9, motion, new business, a motion to approve the payroll accounts payable and disbursements dated May 28, 2019 for the amount of $303,288.47.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Grant, second by trustee Todd. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to move.
You can't make a motion. You already have a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a comment here, okay? Since I missed my opportunity, okay? This is what I would like to say. The payment for the HR consultant. Let me get my numbers together. It is my understanding that the HR, according to the mayor, the HR consultant was retained after the Orange Group was fired. Then you brought on the HR consultant. This was not done with the advice and consent of the board. Any financial obligations incurred on behalf of this, of Sauk Village, must be approved by the Board of Trustees, which it was not. There was no ordinance to create the position of HR consultants. That position was never established. The position that you're talking about was never approved by the board. Salaries for the HR consultant was not fixed by the trustees. The number of hours in question is it 17 or is it 17.45? The answer to that question has never been resolved. Therefore, we still have a conflict with that. The salary for that consultant was increased within the budget period. It's my understanding that is a clear violation of state statute to increase or decrease of the salaries during that time. So with that, I'd like to have those 4 removed from the village, or, you know, those are my comments for it, because she was not ever approved by the Board of Trustees.
Is that it?
That's it.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I spoke with Finance Director Finch on Friday, and I didn't get a copy of updated accounts payable, but I asked to have Kane McKenna removed from the accounts payable because there is $2,087.50 worth of charges for some economic development research analysis, and I said I personally needed more detail. I explained to Mr. Finch that I do not plan, me personally, on approving any invoices from any consultants or vendors that just simply say research was done, phone call was made. If you can't tell me what research was done and who you called on behalf of what, then I don't feel that I personally will not approve that invoice. So he said he was going to pull this invoice, and I did not get an updated accounts payable, because for Sauk Village Economic Development contracted contract dated August 28, 2009, there's been $2,000 worth of research done on that contract. So what I asked Mr. Finch was, A, to provide me the Sauk Village Economic Development contract of August 28th so I can see the need for research. And number two, I would like Kay McKenna to be more explanatory on what their reasons to charge the village $2,000 to look over a contract. I mean, I don't know how big this contract is, but why did it take $2,000 to research it? So moving forward, any consultant or any vendor that hands in an invoice that simply says research was done, spoke with, I personally will not be approving. If they can't give detail, then I won't approve it. And I think that that's the way you would like your accounts payable to be handled. And yes, I am going to be the one that goes into the finance office and checks out the invoices before the meeting. So if I have any questions like I did with this, so my question is, if we're approving accounts payable in the amount of $303,288.47, I have a problem with Kay McKenna being out here, being approved.
Kay McKenna is on the tip 4.
I still have questions, though, about the contract and why it costs $2,000.
Okay. Any other question? In regards to Dr. Strawder's, it was approved by the board. I don't understand why we got to keep going through this each and every time, because it was approved, and the additional was approved because of the situation that the board is in, that I've asked Dr. Strawder and I asked Mr. Finch to step up to help with day-to-days until we do get a finance director. So that was brought up at the board at an executive session meeting. I don't have the minutes in front of me, but it was brought up and it was discussed, and you were there at that time. So, but as far as Kay McKenna, I thought he was going to pull that. I see it's on here too. But, okay. There's a motion on the floor to accept the minute, I'm sorry, to accept the okay, yeah, this is on the executive session minutes. It was done February the 12th and explained the duties that were undertaken by Dr. Strawder and Mr. Finch. So this shows that was talked about. So, still a motion on the floor, so Madam Clerk, you call the roll.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
No, because it was not amended properly.
Just
for the record.
Bill?
Are we taking that Kay McKenna off?
No.
No. Right?
No, it's on here now, so.
We can make an amended motion for the correct amount.
Okay, yeah, two people that asked to have things taken off. Do you want to have separate motion on each one of them?
Yes.
Then the person that made the amendment has to rescind that motion. The other person has to rescind the second.
I rescind my motion.
Excuse me? No. No.
So then, no, second, motion by Grant, and second by Todd.
You can't hear down here.
I can't hear either.
Oh.
So that's why I'm going with it. So,
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
motion carried. Motion on number 2, the motion to accept the recommendation for the line of credit. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Trustee Grant, second by Trustee Bell. Any questions?
Discussion on that. Yes, I do have a question. Actually, I talked to Mr. Finch about that also. Just so the residents understand, a line of credit is just what he stated. We have the opportunity to borrow from that line of credit. We won't borrow from it unless we need to. I just want to make sure that the board, all board members are aware of the fact when we get ready to use that line of credit, so we know that it's being used. With a tax anticipation warrant, it all comes in at one time. You start paying the interest on it immediately, and the board really doesn't know when it's being used. In this case, I am supporting a line of credit because I've asked Mr. Finch to make sure that the mayor, the clerk, and all the board members know when we're going to use that line of credit and that we are in agreement to it. Thank you.
Comment. So, to Trustee Williams, to your point, when we had the warrant, we did keep track. The previous finance director, she kept a track of how much we use on every accounts payable, and I believe that he will follow the same process, so we still will know exactly how much we're using.
So you got a report every time you use it, the board got a report?
Yeah, so she has an accounts payable. Well, the previous finance director will give us accounts payable, and she'll take, like, the total amount was like $550,000, and she'll say $25,000 for example, Olderson and Stirk, $10,000 for such and such. So she would keep a track of that. Yes.
Yeah, that's what all I'm asking for. With the line of credit, you don't have to pay for it till you use it, and we will be notified.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, only comment I want to make is that the line of credit was never talked about. This is the first time I heard about it. I mean, yet it was mentioned last period, but we didn't talk in detail about the line of credit. This was only talked to about today on line of credit.
Madam Clerk, that's not true at all. As a matter of fact, I was looking for the paperwork. We do have paperwork that states and shows that we actually did talk about this at a committee meeting.
We talked about a line of credit in the committee meeting, and you have some paperwork.
Oh, yes.
They're gonna keep us. Let me see. Okay. Is this all we got?
Oh, here it is, right here.
No, it seems like it should be, that came today. On the 23rd?
Yes.
Well, let me see. Can I see what he's talking about?
Oh.
The same thing? Oh, okay. No, did we discuss this? I didn't think we discussed it either.
Yes, we did discuss it. We discussed it at a committee meeting. You got the final amount on the 23rd, but we discussed getting the line of credit, and we discussed why we needed the line of credit. And I think, I don't know, it's up to the board, but I think that it's better than trying to go get the calls wrong, because that's what we had been getting the last two times with the calls wrong. So something that we need, but that's your comment that you...
No, I'm just asking. I don't recall it. So can you? We need the line of credit to.
We need the line of credit to bridge between now and the next time we get our taxes from the state.
Okay.
And that gives us a chance to pay our accounts payable, our salary. We don't get a whole lot in at those particular times, and then that's when. In October, when we get our money, that's when we get paid. You know,
okay.
That's what
so what is the $800,000 reserved for?
It reserved. Why would you spend the money that you're not going to be able to put back in? That's a one-time. We discussed this. That's a one-time fee coming into the village. Unless you know somebody's going to go out and sell some more land and get some more money. Why would you spend that without no recourse of knowing how you're going to replenish that? Once that's gone, that's gone. If we spend that money and we have no other, if something happens, a devastating thing happens in the village, what are we going to do for reserve? I mean, you wouldn't max out your credit card not knowing how you can't pay it back if you don't have a job. So, I mean, you have to think about what you're trying to do before you do it. And that's the reason why we have a line of credit. It's not that we're going to spend all the money right now. We just explained. And we talked about this. It's going to be spent as needed, and we will know when we use that money. But we have to establish it first. We have to get it first.
And comment also, you know, it's to better our relationship with the bank as well. So it's to better our relationship. our relationship with the bank. We're trying to better that relationship. So they'll be more lenient to us in the future if they want to give us a loan or not.
Okay. Any other questions on this motion?
No.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Motion is carried. I'll accept the motion for adjournment.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Williams, second by Trustee Bell. All in favor? Williams, and second by Trustee Bell. Okay, I tell you what, I can put it in your pocket. I'll put it in your pocket. All it is